What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at part 1 of my Legend run on Go Battle Weekend. Looking at this amazing team with Powder, Snow Alolan Sandslash. I do pride myself a bit on being able to read metas and find things that sort of break them. And a lot of people were running things that were weak to Powder, Snow Alolan Sandslash. Lots of grass, lots of those, Gligar Medi Core, or not Gligar, Gligar Licky Cores. Medi, obviously, on most teams. So this team was engineered specifically to take advantage of this meta. So let's take a look at these battles here and see how Shadow Alolan Sandslash with Powder Snow handles in the Great League meta. Getting into the first game here, we are going to have Deoxys on the lead versus Gligar. Not a great lead, so I have 2 ices in the back, so I'm going to immediately pivot into my Dugong here. And honestly, Dugong is one of my favorite new Pokemon in the current... not Ultra League. It's a Great League. This is a Great League. Able to go for Icy Winds here against the Medicham. Oh, so many of these Medicham are started to run Dynamic Punch. Can someone let me know in the comments where that started? Because I feel like somebody really made that a popular thing, and now all of a sudden they're everywhere, dude. I have seen them in so many teams, it's ridiculous. So is that just the new norm? I don't know where it came from. This person, however, is running Power Up Punch. Now, if you're trying to win switch against a Medicham, you could put down both shields here, go for a drill run, and farm down. You could do it. But in this case, I prefer to double debuff so my Deoxys gets a full farm down. My opponent comes in with a Gligar. They swap, not to trying to give me that farm down, and I immediately come in with my Alolan Sandslash. So I'm like, I don't remember if they had enough for a dig here. Not going to go ahead and chance it. I'm going to go for my Ice Punch before they get to a potential dig if they did bait me. Going to see if I can get a shield or just take them straight out here. The opponent does shield, and at this point, I'm free to give up my other shield and farm down. Because if the opponent was, and they did bait me, so it was good shield there. Able to farm down here. The opponent comes back in with the Medi. I will be able to hit them with an Ice Punch. So let's see what the opponent decides to do. They're waiting on their switch timer here, and they come in with a Lickitung. We're going to be able to hopefully break this core a bit here. We do have a Deoxys with a ton of HP in the back. Opponent immediately swaps in the Medicham, and because they're only running Power Up Punch, okay, gonna save my Alolan Sandslash for later. Gonna farm down the Medicham like we hoped to do in the first place, and I can just throw some charge moves at this Lickitung. The opponent is not gonna have anywhere to put that energy against my Sandslash because it's all resisted, and the Deoxys, really healthy still, gonna take a while to get taken down here. I'm gonna build up to the double Psycho Boost, or at least I tried to. I was getting a lot of lag, a lot of not frame and stutter, because thankfully at least on iPhone it's not that bad, but I should have been able to get to a second Psycho Boost there. I go for it. Thankfully my opponent dumps all their energy here though, which means now my Sandslash can just farm down because it has Powder Snow. Powder Snow has been so good to me, dude. Well played to the opponent in that game though. In the next game, we've got a very, very nasty lead in Trevenant. I'm going to immediately switch into my Dugong here. I'm going to hope that I can somehow win switch. My opponent stays in here to get a shield off me. That's already a bad sign. I'm going to shield up the Seed Bomb here. Look to hold my energy unless the opponent stays in. They come in with their own Deoxys, and this is now looking very grim for me as they're going to be able to pummel down my Dugong, even though I have the advantage here in terms of HP. But we're going to go for a free Ice Shard there as my opponent throws on alignment trying to CMP my Dugong. They go for the Thunderbolt. I'm not going to go ahead. I'm not going to shield that at all. I'm going to go for the Icy Wind here, and at this point, I am also happy to let my Deoxys farm their Deoxys down. If I can get... I was hoping I could get to another move, but it was too much damage from the counters there. But now I can just farm down their Deoxys, and honestly, even though they have Trevenant aligned to my Deoxys, because they took so much damage from the Ice Shards before swapping out, Psycho Boost actually threatens them here. So I'm going to absorb this energy on my Deoxys. I know they're going to come back in with that Trevenant. And what I'm going to look to do here is I'm going to look to go for a Psycho Boost right off the bat. But they go in to a Noctowl instead, looking to absorb the energy, so I'm immediately going to pivot into my Sandslash here. My opponent is staying in far too long. Going to go straight for Ice Punch. Probably would have been smarter of me here to just farm, but I force a shield off the opponent, which is also fine. If the opponent hadn't shielded, a 2-shield Trevenant would have been trouble. My opponent goes straight for the Shadow Ball and then comes in with their Trevenant, and those Shadow Claws are ripping through my poor Sandslash here. So Sandslash is going to go for an Ice Punch. I'm not going to be able to do much other than get their shield, but I'm at least leaving them in Thunderbolt range, but it's not going to matter. I'm going to shield this up, and what I'm hoping to do here is try and land a Thunderbolt against that Noctowl, but my Deoxys is not going to be able to get to the move in time. I don't know how much energy they have exactly, and I don't know if they're going to get to another move against me or not, so I don't want to risk it. I'm hoping here I can go for the Psycho Boost, because they're going to get to a they're going to get to the Shadow Ball before I can get to my Thunderbolt here. So I'm going to reach for it. Psycho Boost. It's enough to take out the Noctowl. I actually didn't think that was going to be enough because of how bulky Noctowl is. Very close. Very good game. That had to be like exactly enough. Getting a really nice lead in the next match with the Medicham, and they are staying in, which means that they likely have something in the back that is not fond of Deoxys. Typically could be a Lickitung, could be an Ice type. Typical things that I've seen behind the Medicham. So opponent's going to go for the Ice Punch. I'm going to just go for Thunderbolts here. Deoxys does win this in all even shields, so I'm happy enough to keep this thing away from my Ice types here, because they're just not good matchups. But then my opponent swaps into Registeel, and I'm like, all right, what do I do? Because I can't really swap in my Sandslash here because it has Powder Snow. This is not a good matchup for it. So what I'm going to look to do here is I'm going to look to put up a shield, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reach for the Sandslash here after going for a Thunderbolt. Hopefully this Thunderbolt will get it down to a range where something can, you know, farm down. I should be able to get to a move here before the opponent does, but I do go for the Drill Run because I don't want to risk the Ice Punch not being enough here. So going to go for this Drill Run. Hopefully gets a shield. The opponent does shield, which does allow me now to farm down if I want to, but the switch timers are so misaligned here that they're going to be able to come in with their Medicham and go for a move. What is this? It's a Dynamic Punch. Kaboom! I don't have the button ready. I forgot to put it up, but yeah, that absolutely sucks. And then they're going to be able to go for an Ice Punch here to hit my they're going to be able to hit my Deoxys. But I'm hoping that whatever they've got in the back, maybe Dugong can take care of it. Dugong would be able to farm down that Reggie if I needed it to because of how low they are. I have to immediately swap. Going to go for the farm down into this Medicham, and we're able to get it just barely before they get to that Ice Punch. And we're going to see what the opponent has in the back. We are going to see them swap into a Swampert. And this is not looking great for me, because all I can hope to do here is get them to catch. But the thing is that they are going to be able to get to multiple charge moves. They just need to build it to an Earthquake, swap out, and hit with the Earthquake later. So the only way that I win now is if I somehow catch that Earthquake. But unfortunately for me, my switch timer is not going to be ready in time. So they're just going to come back in with the Earthquake, and they're going to let me have it. I try to go for the Icy Wind just in case they're not at a move, but the Earthquake's going to take me out from here. So another kaboom, and my opponent claps my face because the Mud Shots will take out Deoxys before I can take them out. Good game to the opponent in that one. They played very well. Got a Carbink on the next game. Stinky Binky in the lead, and Deoxys is going to stay in for a bit. I can't comfortably swap out of this, so I guess I would much rather stay in here. But I think what I'm going to look to do here is go for the Psycho Boost. I usually go for Thunderbolt. I'm really not sure why I did that. I think what I was looking to do here was lure out a Medicham. Honestly, that's what I was trying to do here. So the opponent's staying in with their Binky, and I'm going to farm up energy. But here comes the Medicham, so it was one of those things. I'm like, there's a Carbink on the lead. There's got to be a Medicham in the back. It just makes sense. So I'm going to try and lure it out, and I'm able to get to a last-second Icy Wind, but I go down with the move, unfortunately. So my Deoxys is going to have to come in here, and unfortunately, I did not get the second debuff off. But one debuff is going to be good enough because Thunderbolt plus some farm should be enough to take care of this Medicham. And then it's all up to Sandslash and whatever they have in the back. So we're going to see if they paired a Grass type with their Carbink, which is normal for most teams to do. If you've got a Carbink, you're typically going to want to put something that's weak to flying in behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and see what the opponent does here. I was close enough to a move, but I'd rather bank it. Opponent going for the move right away. I'm going to shield up the Rock Throw. My opponent's most likely going to swap in here. And let's see what they've got in the back. The opponent swapping in a Victory Bell. And I see a possible win condition here. Going to go for a shield. I think that they are going to have to shield the Victory Bell, right? Because they can sack it if they want, but they're going to shield it. Because if I don't, if I let them go, then that's problem. But the opponent does not throw any charge moves. Maybe they didn't quite get to the move, but they are going to concede, and that's going to be a good game, and I'm still on the draw in the transition there. Steelix in the next game. Everything here has play into Steelix. Dugong's not too great, though, because they outpaced those breaking swipes. But what I like to do here is I like to stay in and go for this counter damage and then save the energy on my Deoxys, swap into Dugong after eating this breaking swipe, because the counter damage is what's going to add up into that Steelix. The opponent swaps into Medicham. It's almost like we know they're back there. Medicham's going to come into the Dugong, and like I said, most of these honestly have Dynamic Punch at this point. So I have to be very careful about this. Now, thankfully, my Dugong has IVs that are somewhat good enough to get the Medichams pretty low. Power-up punch is all this person's going to be able to use on their Medicham, though they don't have Dynamic Punch. They must not have gotten the memo quite yet. So Icy Wind, getting them low, and this is what I'm saying, right? You land a second charge move. If you correctly shield, like, a Psychic or a Dynamic Punch, you can flip switch with your Dugong. You have to go down 2 shields to do it, and it feels incredibly bad, but you can do it. And I get denied, and the lag is back. So no counter for me. Opponent's able to get to a free power-up punch, which really doesn't do anything, but it's still annoying that it happened. Then the opponent's going to come in with their Steelix, and because I wasn't really able to win switch advantage here, I'm going to go ahead and throw a Thunderbolt into the opponent's Steelix. It really doesn't do much, but once again, just looking to absorb the breaking swipe here on my Deoxys before I swap into my Sandslash, so that I don't give them the opportunity to throw it right away. Opponent staying in, going for the Ice Punch right away before they get to that breaking swipe, and we're going to see if the opponent has something in the back this week to slash. They no shield, and they've got a Bastiodon, so this is a very winnable game in the 2 shields. I just need to make sure that I throw with good timing here and do not let them get any free smackdowns through. I definitely get to 4 drill runs before they get to 3 of their own charge moves or get a full farm down on me. So once again, throwing with good timing, you definitely want to go for 1, 4, or 7. 1, 4, or 7 into this matchup, and then we're going to see the Sandslash with good timing is going to be able to get the drill run off. The opponent has almost 2 charge moves loaded. I've still got 2 shields, so they are going to have to go for a charge move here, taking me out because the smackdowns aren't enough, but Deoxys counters down the Basti, and we're all happy because nobody likes Basti anyway. Who am I kidding? We get a Shadow Nidoqueen in the lead here, and the opponent has Bastion on the back. Yeah, that's fun. So we get a Nidoqueen in the lead. I know that the energy, if I get a farm down, so what I look to do here, like, that's the thing, right? That's why I like this team so much, because Dugong is able to set up an Icy Wind, you know, debuff, able to give Deoxys, you know, the farm down it needs, and the energy is typically going to be very effective into something. So gonna go ahead and get this draw run off. I should have not gone for the extra fast move there, but I was feeling a little saucy, and I felt like I could live it, but I probably shouldn't have. Opponent's going to come back in with a Nidoqueen. I'm going to be able to get a free shield or deal huge damage here with this Psycho Boost, and the opponent shields it. Going to come with Alolan Sandslash. The opponent's team was not respecting it except for the Deoxys, and I'm like, I know I got nothing, dude. I lose. So, well played. My opponent just kind of countered me there. That's all I can do. Nothing you can do about it. Got a Medicham in the next game, though, and the opponent immediately swaps into Zard, and I'm just like, what do I do? So, gonna go for the Psycho Boost, hoping for an early shield here. The opponent shields, I'm gonna swap in Dugong. The opponent does shield. I'm gonna go into Dugong here just because I know that usually I can go for farm down Icy Winds. Well, my opponent normally throws the Dragon Claw right away because they think, oh, they're going to shield this because they're going to throw the Icy Wind, so they want to get the Icy Wind debuff. But that's why I typically go ahead and shield, no shield the first move, because typically my opponents will do that. Now, they don't always do that, and sometimes I've eaten Blast Burns to the face. The opponent invests both shields into this Charizard. I will be able to get to an Icy Wind here, but my opponent is most likely to full send the Blast Burn at this point. So I can now fully farm them down after this. Blast Burn gets my final shield. Now we're all shields down. Opponent has a Medicham, but they're going to have to take 2 charge moves from my Dugong and be aligned to my Deoxys. Not an ideal situation for them, and because of the damage from my Dugong, should have just gone for drill runs here, if I'm honest, to give them less farm. Would have done more damage, and the debuffs, they can just shrug them off. My opponent comes in with a Carbink, farms down, and I'm chilling because I can get to a drill run here, and I'm pretty sure my Sandslash lives the Rock Slide that comes from this. So I should be able to get the 2 drill runs here pretty easily. Rock Slide does not do that much from Carbink, so I'm going to load up the 2 drill runs, let them both loose, and then my Deoxys against their half HP Medicham is a pretty dominating matchup. I just need to get to a Thunderbolt there, and that's going to be pretty much the game. So well played to my opponent. Carbink can get the heck out of here. don't deal with. I hate Carbink. I hate Carbink almost as much as Bastion. The only reason I like Carbink slightly more is because it can learn Tackle, and that makes it not toxic. But the opponent's got a Lickitung in the next game, and I'm expecting a Gligar in the back already. Opponent decides not to swap out. So what I like to do in this matchup here is I'm going to farm up energy until they throw a Body Slam, and then I'm just going to throw a Psycho Boost and dip into Dugong. Typically, I want to wait for them to throw that energy because that means it's longer for them to get to the Power Whip. If I were to go for a Psycho Boost and dip, they get to the Power Whip much sooner, and that's less ideal for me. So, opponent comes in with the Medicham, just like they always do. It's like you just know it's coming, dude. I think at least 9 times out of 10, I swap my Dugong, and oh, look, there's a Medicham. So, we've played this matchup plenty of times. Now, when everybody started running Dynamic Punch, I did have to pivot away from this strategy. So, opponent goes for the Psychic here, which means I'm going to be able to go for the Icy Wind. I'm setting up that farm down for Deoxys. Even though Lickitung does super effective damage with those licks, it does not need to take, you know, extra counter damage. Doesn't really want to take the energy because it's already over halfway down. And if my opponent has a Gligar in the back, like most Lickitung users will, they're in for a very bad time. So the go straight for I had a stroke or something, dude. I just can't, like, straight for into Mandibuzz. That's what was about to come out of my mouth, so I had to stop myself. I thought they were going to come straight back in with the Lickitung, so I went straight for the Psycho Boost. That was a mistake on my part. The opponent was not at a charge move yet, so I should not have thrown that right away. That was a mistake. But because I have Ice Punch, or Powder Snow, there it is. Powder Snow on my Alolan Sandslash, and because this is all resisted damage from the Lickitung, I can farm them down. Honestly, what I probably should have done here is just farm more, but it's okay. We still come out with nearly 2 moves, and all I need to do is get to 3. I have a shield against the Mandibuzz. My Deoxys is basically out of energy here, but they have some HP, so if I absolutely had to, I could also save a shield for Deoxys to potentially get a Thunderbolt off, but I would much rather go for this Ice Punch here, and I know that the Ice Punch doesn't quite KO from this range, so I do have to overfarm a bit. I'm trying to get a little bit of extra Powder Snow damage to put this thing into KO range. The Ice Punch is going to get off. It's going to leave the Mandy with 1 HP, so I come straight in with my Deoxys. And if my opponent doesn't go for Dark Pulse here, then the Aerial Ace doesn't KO, and the counter does, and that's a good game. Well played. Getting into the next game, got a Legend player, and they've got a Superior lead. I love Superior. It's one of my favorite Pokemon this season. I immediately go into Dugong. I don't really have much of a choice here, but here we go. Medicham, back at it again, boys. So Dugong's going to lure out this Medicham, and then we're going to do once again, we're going to basically hope that this is the only answer that they have in the back for Alolan Sandslash, right? So Deoxys is going to be able to farm this down, and they have the Dynamic Punch, and Dugong lives with just 1 HP, but unfortunately not able to do much with it as it goes down to the counters. But gonna go for the over farm here. Opponent would win CMP. Medicham beats Deoxys by like 5 attack. So it's just a raw stats thing. If you're not aware, CMP is when you both tie on your charge moves. You both hit at the same time. The Pokemon with the higher base attack stat will win CMP and go for their charge move before you go for yours, which is why you see in this case the Medicham has a higher base attack stat, and it goes and gets the CMP in most cases against Deoxys. So opponent has an Umbreon in the back. This is very tough for me, unfortunately. Even though it's nice because I have Powder Snow, it's not so nice because it's Umbreon, and it's much tankier, and it's much spammier than my poor Alolan Sandslash. So they're just going to be able to continue to go for foul play after foul play. All I really have here is I'm going to be able to hope that maybe they don't shield a Drill Run, and maybe they just save their shields for the Superior. Going to go for the Drill Run, but the opponent does shield it. Unfortunate for me. I go for the Ice Punch here. Drill Run does more damage. I felt like they were going to try to shield again. The Drill Run probably would have been the play, and I tried to swap, but for some reason the game just decides, not, you know what, fam, you don't need to swap today. So instead of being able to go ahead and go into my Deoxys like I planned and catch the foul play, instead I have to waste my shield, and the opponent is going to be able to get a charge move off with the Aerial Ace. Now, if I had swapped, this would have possibly been a very different game, but Superior does kind of just clap my Deoxys anyway. I'm like, there's nothing, dude. I mean, I need like 2 Psycho Boosts and a Miracle here. The Frenzy Plant, almost going to KO, but I'm like, I know I lost anyway, so it's all right. I'm going to let it go. And that's a good game. Into the final game here, we've got a Swampert lead. This is not exactly comfy, but we have to stay in here for a bit because the Snow Alolan Sandslash does not really appreciate a Swampert with Mud Shot. So we're going to see them go for a Hydro Cannon straight away. My battery's getting low here, unfortunately. The the charging cable I use when I stream does not quite keep things going for too long. So because the opponent went straight for the Hydro Cannon and they're fairly low on energy, I go immediately into my Dugong. And I'm answered by a Registeel. Yay! I love Registeel, dude. Gonna go for the drill run here. I know that a Zap Cannon and Focus Blast does not quite KO my Dugong, so I can go for a second move here. But I opt to shield this up because I would like to try and put the opponent in a very precarious position by going for more than 2 drill runs here. Probably not the smartest thing for me to do here, only because I have to put up both shields in order to win this matchup. So I just say, you know what? It's fine. This is a much more farmable range for Deoxys, but the opponent is having to give up Switch here. So I kind of lose my opportunity to farm this down, right? The opponent lets it go. My Dugong lives on 1 HP. Now the script is flipped, and they get Switch, but they have a Venusaur in the back, and my Powder Snow Alolan Sandslash is going to be able to go for a charge move here. And the Ice Punch is the CMP. Venusaur has that higher attack stat. Frenzy Plant is going to hurt, but that's okay because it's resisted and we can tank that. I'd rather take it here. The opponent, their Swampert in the back. They come in with it. I immediately come in with my Deoxys. They are low enough now that I could potentially farm down. So I'm going to let this go. If they want to go for the Earthquake, that's fine with me. But they go for the Hydro Can. So I go immediately for Psycho Boost. But they had 2 moves and they throw them right away. So that now tells me that they have no energy and I should be able to farm down. If I could get to 4 Powder Snows. No, God, they get me. But the opponent's Venusaur threw right away. So if I can get to 2 Ice Punches before the opponent's Venusaur can get to 2 Frenzy Plants, we win the game here. Look, a little stutter lag. They'll go straight into the move. Now, I don't know what happens here. I thought that my opponent was at the Frenzy Plant. Perhaps they weren't, but I believe it was 5 for the second Frenzy Plant, unless I'm wrong. But I'll take it. Got to get every little point we can. Well played to my opponents. This team is absolutely stonks. Powder Snow Alolan Sandslash doing very well in the meta despite me having a couple not so great games in that set. Was able to climb up over 100 elo with this team to get into the mid 2900s, and then we hit Legend with a different team, which you're going to see tomorrow. So stay tuned. Turn on the notifications if you want to check out that video. It's a pretty spicy team, if I do say so myself. Very fun team. Takes my 3 favorite Pokemon in the entire Great League from this season, and I get to use them all in one team. It was amazing. So thank you all so much for watching. We're going to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.